Tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m, Chelsea look to regain a little bit of form as we take on Crystal Palace under the lights at Stamford Bridge. And in this video, I'm going to preview the game. We're going to speak a little bit about Crystal Palace. I am going to give my starting 11 pick, bearing in mind we're hampered by injuries and suspensions. And ultimately, I'm going to give my scoreline prediction. But people, before we get into all that, firstly, I hope you all had a very good Christmas. Secondly, if you are not already, at the end of the video, if you like the content and you want to see more from myself, please subscribe to the channel. And thirdly, I have also launched my new boxing channel. It's going to be linked in the description. If you like boxing, head over there and subscribe to that. Let's get into it. So I'm guessing you lot are feeling exactly the same as me, which is still pretty much deflated after that Wolves game. The Wolves game was gutting, wasn't it? Because if we had have beat Wolves, one, we could have started to build a little bit of momentum, and two, we're looking at teams above us like the likes of Man United losing games, and we're thinking we could potentially bridge the gap and start to elevate ourselves just up the league a tiny bit. Would that be good enough for us to get Europa League football? I doubt it, but it would have been nice nonetheless. And now we're looking at things. We're playing Crystal Palace. They haven't been pulling up trees by any stretch of the imagination, but at the same time, they're pretty organised and they're not a bad team, 15th in the table, but it doesn't really reflect how they've been this season. I mean, they haven't been good, let's be honest. They haven't been good at all. They haven't won since the start of November. I think it's about 100 days since they've had a win at home. And although they've, beat the likes of Man United this season and drawn recently against Man City, they haven't done much in the league at all. But I tell you one thing, right? Crystal Palace defensively have been better us. They've conceded 2 less goals than Chelsea have. So, again, it's not really about who's better out of us and Palace. It's about who's less shit at this moment in time. And at this moment in time, it's very hard. Listen, life as a Chelsea fan is a roller coaster at the minute, because one week you feel good. We get a good spirited draw against Newcastle and win on penalties and you're buzzing. The next week we get brought crashing back down to earth by the likes of Wolves. And at the moment, the most frustrating thing about this Chelsea side is obviously the results, yeah. But also, another massively frustrating thing is we're going into matches. We all know that Chelsea are constantly hampered by injuries over the past 3-4 seasons. But we're going into matches not only with the injury crisis going on, but also with suspensions left, right and centre. 56 bookings we've picked up in the league this season. This match coming in now, we're without Raheem Sterling, who I probably would have dropped anyway, and Cole Palmer, who's probably our most important player at the moment. And that is all because of the amount of bookings we're picking up. And now Pochettino has come out and said that's actually not a sign of ill discipline. It's more inexperience. No, I'm not having that. It is ill discipline. If you look at Nicholas Jackson, most of his bookings have been for dissent. So realistically, it is a sign of ill discipline, and something needs to be sorted with the whole suspensions and booking crisis, if you want to call it that, what we have going on at Chelsea at the moment. And it means that when we pick the team selection at the second, it's very hard for us to pick a starting 11. But what I am going to do now is try and pick my starting 11. The 11 that I think will serve us best in trying to get a result against Crystal Palace. And let's be honest, before I get into it, we really should be getting a result here. Okay, we've been bad in the league this season. Our form's been patchy. We've been up and down. Good performances have very rarely been followed by back-to-back good performances. But realistically, we should be beating Crystal Palace here. So let's go with the starting 11. I'm going to go Petrovic in goal. Even in the Wolves match, he was one of the players that could walk away with his head held high. I thought he did well. Melo Gusto right back. I do think that my centre-back pairing should be Disasi and Badiashile. Thiago Silva probably needs to come out of there, purely for the fact that he'd have played, 3 games in 10 days or something like that, 7 days maybe even, and at his age now, he's not coping well with it. We saw him slip over again, which could have led to a goal. It didn't, luckily, but it was similar to the slip against Newcastle, which did lead to a goal at St James's Park earlier on in the season, a couple of months ago. So, again, I'll take Thiago Silva out of the lineup, and that means I'm going to have Levi Colwill at left back. The sooner Ben Chilwell comes back and gets fit, the better, because I think Levi Colwill is better utilised in one of those centre-back positions. And we look at the centre-back so far, hit and miss again. Really, really is hit and miss. But at the moment, at this time being, we're going to have to put Levi Colwill there. Now, the centre midfield pivot, I'm going to have Caicedo alongside Conor Gallagher. I know Caicedo missed out the last match. We were told that was through illness. Hopefully, it's something that he's able to get over quickly and then he's able to come straight back into contention. We did see Romeo Lavia on the bench, but he didn't get on the pitch last time out. I would imagine he may well get some minutes here. Ugachukwu, he came back from injury, then came off injured again. Enzo Fernandez, we haven't got a clue what's going on with him. Is he injured? Is he ill? Is it a bit of both? We really don't know. We were hearing it was an illness. Then we were hearing it was a problem with was it his hip or his groin, or was it both? I'm not sure. But Enzo Fernandez, again, he ain't been pulling up trees for me this season. He hasn't pushed on from where I thought he was going to be last season. Naturally, it's starting to get to a point where I'm saying his performances last season were better than the ones this season. That really is saying something. I do know at this point, Boxing Day, we were higher in the league last season than we are this season. Maybe that was the couple of wins that Tuchel got us at the start. I don't know. But, again, I'm going off subject here. Caicedo, Conor Gallagher in the pivot. In front of them, in the number 10, we would usually have maybe a Cole Palmer there. Last game, it looked like we had Nicholas Jackson there. I just think we bring in Kunku straight back in, I know he's only been given, maybe 20, 25 minutes against Wolves. He did get on the goal sheet. He's looking more clinical already than Nicholas Jackson. Definitely more clinical than Rasmus Højlund at Man United. But I would start in Kunku there. If he's, if he's feeling leggy after the hour mark, then bring him off then and, bring someone on off the bench. But just start him because he looks like one of the ones that we can rely on to maybe go and win us a game at the minute. And we are in dire need of wins. This season could get real ugly real quick if we don't start winning games. So start Nkunku there. On the right hand side, let's go with Noni Madueke. Remember, we haven't got Raheem Sterling available. Ian Maatsen looks like he's going to be sold in January, so I'd just start Noni Madueke there because he is the one player that we're hearing won't be sold in January, and he will be staying. And actually, although a little bit wasteful at times and the end product doesn't look like it's there, sometimes I do think at least he's one of the players that tries to make something happen for us, so I would start him there. Over on the other side, I'd go Mykhailo Mudryk. I almost think it was close to criminal that Mudryk didn't start against Wolves, I've been vocal at times about thinking that and saying that Mudryk needs to do a lot more for us than he's been doing. But when he comes in off the back of the sort of performance we saw against Newcastle, where let's not get confused with key moments in terms of key moments being better than performances. He didn't have a great performance against Newcastle. He had a really good key moment, but sometimes those key moments can be enough to then put in a great performance next match. So I do think we should have saw Mudryk there. I actually thought he looked half decent when he came on against Wolves. I do think that with the injury crisis we've got at the minute and suspension crisis, it's got to be Mudryk. If he doesn't start Mudryk in this match, you have your answer. No matter what he came in for, no matter what fee it was, no matter what some of the fan base say about Mudryk and the potential he's got, Pochettino does not fancy Mudryk if he doesn't start in this match. You can't have this amount of players injured or suspended and Mudryk doesn't even get a look in. Up top, realistically, look, we're picking between two players who aren't firing. One has a good goal record, one doesn't have a good goal record, but I would go with Amanda Broja. Nicholas Jackson, I'm tired of seeing him leading the line for us, man. I've given up on Nicholas Jackson. I've got no hope that he's going to be a vital player for us going forward, and I've got no hope that he's going to be the future of Chelsea's front line. Never have I had, realistically, a player leading the line at times for Chelsea that when the ball goes through to them, I've got absolutely zero confidence they will convert. I never think Nicholas Jackson's going to score. At least Amanda Broja, and his numbers don't suggest it, but at least Amanda Broja, sometimes I think, okay, you could score, you could pull something out the bag, but I've seen enough of Nicholas Jackson now. He's not going to be the man for us going forward. We need to either move him out wide. I'm not saying he can't play for us. I'm not saying Nicholas Jackson can't be in and around the first team. Maybe a sub coming off the bench. Maybe if we move him out wide and we see him play wide like he did for Villarreal at times. But leading the line as a number 9, Nicholas Jackson's never going to be the man. Don't know what that is. He's never going to be the man for Chelsea Football Club, so we just need to accept that now. If you want to get in my comments and have a go at me for saying that, it is what it is, and hopefully he can prove me wrong. But on the showcase we've seen so far this season, it ain't going to happen for Nicholas Jackson. There was a time, wasn't there, and listen, Sterling missed a sitter, and Broja should have converted another chance he got, but there was a time when the ball got chipped over the top to Nicholas Jackson, and I thought, you know what, once you control this, I don't trust you to convert it. He didn't even control it. Sorry, I can't do it. Can't do it, Nicholas Jackson, anymore. So let's have Broja up there, and let's hope we maybe go out and get someone in January or something like that, because both of them are misfiring at the minute. It's bad, man. It's really bad. I didn't think we'd be at this point with Chelsea this season, and me looking at lineups and just thinking, yeah, where did the goals come from? But luckily, we have got a man in there that I was saying to all of you, let's not hang our hopes on. Let's not put too much pressure on him. And now, ironically, the way it's going, I feel like we do need to put a bit more pressure on him and hang our hopes on that. Is Christopher Nkunku. I do think Christopher Nkunku could potentially be the man to go and get us those goals. So Christopher Nkunku is going to be pivotal for us in this match, and I'm very looking forward to seeing his contribution. Now, if we fail to win this match, if we lose this match, for example, we could go down to 13th, 14th in the Premier League table. Are we in a relegation battle if that happens? I would look at the Premier League table and say, do you know what? Luton, Sheffield United and Burnley are so far adrift. And then the teams that are just sort of above them. I mean, Bournemouth are like the form team in the table at the moment, but I'd put them into it. Nottingham Forest into it. Everton, they're looking better. But, they're still a little bit further down there because the points deduction, I actually think their performances, they'll probably finish above Chelsea this season. We carry on the way we are and they carry on the way they are. But there's teams below us in the table, even Crystal Palace, that just means there's just too much down there that we could get sucked into it. So I'm not even going to entertain that. But one thought or one theory, one possibility a lot of Chelsea creators, probably the more reactionary ones, are entertaining is the possibility of Pochettino being sacked. If we were to lose this game, do I think Pochettino would be sacked? I don't think Pochettino's doing a good job, and I don't think he's getting the best out of a lot of these players. I heard a certain creator saying that Pochettino hasn't improved any players in this Chelsea side. I'd definitely disagree with that. I think he has improved certain players. I also think that any manager would have massively struggled with this Chelsea team because of the ownership. Our ownership has been absolutely awful at this moment in time. Hopefully it improves, but so far it has been dire, pathetic, rubbish. And, we're not far from people really, really turning on these owners now. But I do think that because of the ownership and because of how poorly the club has been run, Pochettino was always going to have a hard job. Should he be better than having us 10th in the league and potentially after today's fixtures dropping down to 12th, 13th, something like that? Yeah, he should. He should be doing a lot better than that. But I tell you one thing. When you look at our big chances missed, right? Pochettino can only set a team up to get us in certain positions. And when you look at 36 big chances missed, okay? And then when you look down the list at the bottom of those big chances missed, and you look at the teams that haven't missed so many chances as us and where they are in the league, it sort of begs the question that if we hadn't have missed all these big chances, if Sterling had just squared the ball to Cole Palmer when he went for on goal the other day, and then we were leading at half-time, and there's so many cases this season like that. If we hadn't have missed all these big chances, would we be so low in the league? No, we wouldn't. I think at this point, if we hadn't have missed all of those big chances, we'd be definitely in top 6, I'd say. And if we were in top 6, maybe, just maybe, we're looking at Pochettino's job so far and thinking, should we be a little bit higher up? But then if we look at the performances so far this season of Aston Villa, if we look at the performances of obviously Tottenham, who are doing really well under Postecoglou, and then obviously Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, who are always going to be sort of up there or thereabouts, I do think we're around 6th, 7th in the league. I don't think we're looking at it and we're asking about Pochettino's job. So my theory on it would be that Pochettino can only set the team up, and if we were playing football where we just weren't getting into dangerous positions and we weren't getting these chances to ultimately go and fluff them, then I'm asking questions and I'm going, do you know what? Is Pochettino the man for this job? But because we are so wasteful in front of goal, it makes me sort of beg the question, okay, but Pochettino is setting us up to get in these positions. So maybe with more clinical players and more experienced players, we might start seeing the fruits of his labour a little bit more. And for that reason, it doesn't mean that I'm firmly going, no, it's not Pochettino's fault. He's not to blame at all. But I think there's enough there to suggest to me that, we've got to hold some of the blame on the players here rather than just purely blaming Pochettino here. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I haven't got high hopes for this season now at all. I think we'll finish mid-table. And then obviously, once Pochettino has had a little bit more time to settle in with these players, obviously listen, we can't ignore the elephant in the room. We haven't got someone at the moment that can put the ball in the back of the net. And once we have one of them in our lineup, whether it's a 9 or whether it's a couple of wide players that are contributing more, whether you can get the best out of a Mykhailo Mudryk or Nkunku comes in and starts putting up the same sort of numbers he was in the Bundesliga, then we can accurately judge him. However, I think if we were to get rid of him, then I think that there'd always be the question there of, did we jump the gun there, and were we really able to see what Pochettino was able to do? Because he didn't have his best lineup and he didn't have the luxury of being able to just have his feet under the table and really give a true account of himself as a manager at Stamford Bridge. So I would stick with Pochettino for now. Definitely not Pochettino out. In terms of this game, Funnily enough, I actually do think we'll win it. I do think we'll win it 1-0, 2-1, maybe something like that. Probably be a hard-fought win, but I do think we get sank here. Again, I've said it time in, time out. Like, we're not an awful team. We're not that bad, but we're not that great either. So, what do you guys think? I'm more interested to know, as always, your thoughts on this game. What do you think starting lineup-wise? Would you go with that one? I don't think we have many options. But let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you all again. I really do hope you had a very lovely Christmas. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Hit the link in the description to my boxing channel. Subscribe to that also, and I will see you all in the next one.